All right, it's that time. It's Happy Little APIs time. I'm so excited you are here, and I'm excited I'm here. I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's healthy. I got my Dr. Pepper. I got my Yeti. I got my Serverless for Everyone shirt on. It's time to start. All right, so first of all, let's pop over here. Bring up the chat here and say hey to everybody. Welcome. Last week we talked about, or actually 2 weeks ago, we talked about building a URL shortener without serverlessly without using Lambda. Okay. Now again, if you're new to this, the basic idea here is that we have nothing against Lambda. We love Lambda. Actually, Lambda is a phenomenal service, but sometimes you can integrate directly with the service and you don't even need to use a Lambda. My amazing boss, Jay Nair, find him on Twitter at JNairThinks. He once said you shouldn't use Lambda to transport, just use it to transform. So because we're not transforming anything too much, we're gonna see how to do this in just using API gateway connecting directly to DynamoDB. 2 weeks ago, we built the first part of this where we built where you could get the URLs and you could post a new one. And so that's kind of where we're going to start up. And here, let's just get a refresher. Let's go back to the screen and let's see that happen. All right. I have a question already. How important is EKS for gaming? Is it needed for games such as Fortnite? I'm not a container specialist, but I can tell you that EKS is probably used. I do not know the answer to that, to be real honest. So, all right. So we're going to go to my screen. Let's get started here. So first of all, just so you can kind of see what we're doing, kind of give you a reminder. When we go here, with our URL shortener, the idea is we're going to send it a URL, a short link, and we should get back a redirection. So this is my API, this first part of that, up to prod, and the AWS is the short link that I wanted to transform to a long one. So we're going to do a send on this real quick. And I got back a 301, which is what I expected. And in the location header, you can see it's giving me back aws.amazon.com. And that's the general idea of a URL shortener. You give it a small one, it gives you the full one. So if your links are really long, it's much like a bit.ly or something like that. Now, what happens if I run the wrong one that doesn't exist? Well, I'm going to do a send on that, and you'll see here that it now redirects back to my client, which I can pop up and show you here, is just a simple client to edit. And actually, if you don't have a login, you'll actually get like an introductory screen. But this is the client that actually I can build the shortcuts with. And this is, if you follow some of the links on here, you'll see slip.link, and this is exactly what it's using. So with that, let's jump in and get started here. We'll kill that Twitch there. I had a double sound there going. All right. So now that what we've built is the ability to get. So you have to pass a link ID, which we showed AWS, and here's the get. And then we've added the ability to add one. So we're going to do a post on the app directory. And actually, we can show that real quick as well. So if we go here on our post, so let's say we're going to add, I don't know, we'll do Pepsi, okay? I drink Dr. Pepper, but we'll do Pepsi just for fun of it, okay? So, and that should go to Pepsi.com. So now that's all I need is an ID and a URL. And so when I hit send, if my token is still good, so the incoming token has expired. That's okay. So just to refresh you, we're going to go ahead and get a new token. Okay, so we built, last time we showed that we were going to build, or we built the back end, the security part, and we connected it. So we're going to grab a new token. If this doesn't look familiar, go back to episode 1. And there's a link, and I'll be posting a link to our serverless channel. And hey, my man Rob Sutter is moderating. Can you help with that? All right, there we go. So yeah, there's this. That's the link to this repo. But can you push the AWS serverless YouTube channel so they can see that as well? All right, so we're going to request a token. Okay, and over here is the Cognito hosted UI. So let's update this. Okay, And now it takes a lot of effort for me not to say my password while I'm typing it. So yeah, I had to think of that. All right, so in this, and we're not going to use the access token. We're going to actually use the identity token. Okay, so we're not using a JWT. It is a JWT token, but works a little different when we're using the Cognito authorizer on API Gateway. And again, watch the first session. That'll show how to do that. But let's go ahead and add this header into our authorization. Okay. So now let's see if we can create that. Now that we have that, look at there. So now we created a new URL. ID, URL, we got a timestamp back, and we got the owner. And you may be asking yourself, how do we get the owner? Well, we grabbed that contextually from the authentication pack or context that comes in that Cognito passed over to, or in the token passed over to API Gateway. So I know that when I created it, it was me who created it. So that when I list all of mine, or I list all the links, I'm going to get just mine back. In fact, let's start there and show how to do that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a get, okay? Now, here, we've got our post. That's how we post it. And all our kind of admin is handled under the app, okay? So we're going to go ahead and add, we're going to create another method, and it's going to be a get, okay? We're going to save that. And then we go in here, and if you remember last time, again, I'm not going to talk through all this because I really get detailed in this in the first session, but we're going to go ahead and set up our AWS service. Our region is going to be US West 2 because that's where I'm working, and we're going to hit DynamoDB. And finally, we don't need a subdomain. Every time we talk to DynamoDB, it is a post because we're doing an action, and we're going to use an action name. Okay, and then what we're going to do here, we actually built, when we set this up, we built an index or a global secondary index that lets me grab, and it's based on the user, lets me grab just the users without doing a full scan on the database. I really think if I did a scan, Alex Debris or Rick Houlihan would come to my house and tackle me. So we try not to do scans unless we have to. Alrighty, so we're going to do a query, and so that'll query this. Now, the role I need, I built 2 roles in the first session. The role I need is the ability to read. I'm not writing with this one. Remember, we want to stay granular. So I'm going to read only, and that's the shorty read execution role. The content handling, I don't need to change. I don't need to change anything out there, and the default timeout is fine. So I'm going to save this. All right, looky there. Okay, so now we got to build our integration request, and we do that through a mapping template. So we're going to add the mapping template. We're going to set this to when there are no templates. Okay, JSON. All right, so this says when JSON comes in, use this mapping template to format this. We're going to jump over here and grab my, thanks, Rob. Okay, nice, good job. Rob's got his own little URL shortener there at robsutter.tv. Pretty cool. All right, so I've got my templates saved in here. I'm not even going to try to tell you that I'm making this up as I go because that wouldn't be fun. And so under the app, I have a get request JSON, and this is the request template that I'm going to use. Okay, it is the same narrator shortener. That's correct. Okay, yes, the blog that we posted, that Rob posted earlier, shows how to build this all as infrastructure as code. There's a SAM template that builds everything we're building. So let's talk through this template. Okay, first of all, my table name is not this one. We actually just named it Shorty. Okay, the index name is owner index, so that's what it's going to look at. Okay, the key condition is I want in owner to equal v owner. Now I'll explain this again in just a second. What we do is we try to stay away from reserved words in DynamoDB, so we use these key condition expressions, or I'm sorry, we use these variables, pound for parameter names and colon for values. And what I'm going to say is I want owner to equal owner. So what that's doing, if we slide down here, I'm setting owner to equal the authorizer. Remember, I'm passing a token. I have to be authorized to get these. I'm going to grab the owner from that context, like I said. Okay, and then the parameter name has to be equal to owner. So what I'm essentially saying is, in order for me to get this list, the owner, the parameter there, has to equal the context authorizer claims email. So someone can't say, oh, I'm this email. It has to dynamically come in based on the authorized token coming in. So this is the amount of security we're wrapping around this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick. Okay, and if you remember, now we need to set up our integration response. Okay, so we want our data to be in such a format. Actually, we could just test this at the moment. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we're going to go back over to Postman, and Postman makes it easy because I can, I don't have to hard code values in to test with. So we're just going to go over here and we're actually going to duplicate this tab. Okay, and actually, that's not the one I wanted. Yeah, actually, that'll work fine. Okay, so we're gonna say, I'm gonna hit the app and I'm just gonna do a get. I'm not passing anything in the body, but I do have my header with the token in. So let's see what we get. I got nothing. I got 301. Let's see if I did that wrong. Hang on a second. Oh, did anybody catch it? What did I not do? I'm notorious for this. Anytime we make changes, you have to deploy the API. So I'm going to deploy the API. Rob, you missed that one. I didn't see you say anything on that. It's all right. I still love you, brother. Okay. So now that I've deployed that app, I'm hitting the resources and I'm going to be hitting the app get method. So the path of app or resource of app and the method of get. All righty. I was waiting for you to see it. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Okay. So let's go back to Postman. So now I'm hitting my URL and I'm hitting the app subpath and I'm doing a get and my header is in place. Theoretically, this should work. And what do we got here? Okay, an attribute may not contain. So something happened and my owner did not get passed in. That's all right. That's why we do these shows, so that we can, troubleshoot live. So let's go back to our integration request. It's on the get here and we're going to our mapping templates. We're going to look here real quick at our mapping template. Let's see what maybe I did not do here. So context authorizer claims email. So it's saying, you know what? I wonder if I grabbed the wrong token. So let's do this. So in order to see what's happening, okay, we're going to go back to Postman. Now remember in the last session I said you have to use the ID token, not the access token. So we're going to reauthorize. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a request token, sign back in. And so as you pull over here, okay. Oh, that doesn't want to move at all. Okay. So I'm going to, this is the access token here. This is the ID token. So we're going to grab this and we're going to verify it real quick. I want to show you what's coming in there. So we're going to go to jwt.io to look at our token here. And I'm going to go here, I'm going to paste that. And you can see the email getting passed in is ericdj@amazon.com. So I'm beginning to think that I may have put the wrong token. And that's okay. If this doesn't work, then we'll keep on troubleshooting. So in the header and the authorization here, I'm going to clear this out, paste this. Now it has the new token. Okay, let's see if it works. It's still coming up empty. All right. So here's what I want to do. It contains an invalid value. So it's saying it cannot be empty, the V owner. Okay, so let's go back and look at that one more time. Anybody? I'm open for suggestions from the crowd here. And let's go back to our API gateway. And we're on the get. And it's saying that this V owner, yeah, that's right. It's not getting the value. So we're going to do this. Okay, because this is no good to us. We're going to test it here and see if this is the problem, and then we'll work our way backwards. Okay, so we're going to say, we're going to hard code that value. Okay, I'm going to save this. Okay, and let's go back. Now we're going to test it real quick. Okay, so just to see what's coming in, we're hitting the app. Okay, so if I test this and I've got a hard coded value, okay. Look at that. So we've got an issue with maybe, so not only do we have a user, but we've got a role issue. So we're going to go back and fix that real quick. So it's not authorized to perform DynamoDB query on resources, and it's saying this ARN, and it has to go all the way to index. All right, so let's go back to our IAM role. So here's how I quickly, and by the way, can you guys tell me, hard-coded our way, yeah. Can you tell me, is the text big enough for everybody? Because I am on the west side of the country, and it's closer to me. So, all right, text is good. That's what I want to know. All right, so let's go back to our IAM, and we're going to open this in another folder, or a new tab, I'm sorry. Okay. All fine, good, all right. So now let's go into our IAM here, and we're gonna find our roles. And let's look at the error one more time here. It's saying that my shorty index, or my assumed role shorty read, okay? So we're gonna go back to the read here, and we're gonna find that. Okay. Alrighty, so it has access to DynamoDB read, okay, which there's the query, all right? But looky there, look at our resource. I could swear I fixed that. That's all right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go in here and we're gonna update this, okay? We're gonna turn this into an array, okay? We're gonna say, not only does it have access to this one, but we're also going to have access to this one. Gotta put that in quotes. Okay. Alrighty, there's the owner index. So now let's review that policy. Okay, we'll save changes. Now notice I can get batch get item, I can do get item, and I can do query on shorty and the shorty index owner. So let's go back and test that again. See if that gets us by the problem. All right, there we go. We have data coming in. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so now here's what I want to do. I want to see if maybe somewhere my error got messed up. So I'm going to go back to my integration request. I'm going to set that back as I should be. I've lost my mouse. There it is. Oh, that was weird. Literally lost my mouse. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to Control Z this. There we go. And let's save that. Let's deploy this. I don't think this is going to fix the problem because I think that error was pretty straightforward, but we're going to try it anyway. Okay. All right. So let's go back to Postman. Let's do a send. All right. So it's still not liking that. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to look, and this is where not having a Lambda gets a little fun, okay? So let's reevaluate, and I'm going to take a look at real quick here because, of course, I have a cheat version over here to work off of. I'm going to reevaluate my template. I'm wondering if I missed something in the template. Okay. Bear with me 1 second here. That's the response that I'm looking at. Okay, so let's go to the template here, and we're going to go to my application JSON. All right. Okay, fun. He says, this is fun. Figuring this out is fun. All right, so let's go back to that real quick. It's telling me something's not getting passed through. That should be happening. My authorizer set in place. Oh, hey. Hey. I wonder something real quick here. On my get, looky there. Rob, I don't blame you, but this was me. What do you guys think? I'm not even passing an authorization token, okay? So here's the problem. I was dumb, okay? I didn't add authorization to that endpoint. And this is why I like doing it through infrastructure as code, because that would have automatically been put in there. So we're gonna save that. Looky there, I fixed it, okay? So we had two problems going on, but now we fixed them both. So let's go back to Postman, and I'm gonna bet my very, hey, I'm up at that, nice. I'm kidding. I'm gonna bet my very last two fingers that this is gonna work, okay? Now don't hold that to me. Oh, deploy the API, good call. All right, so let's go deploy the API. All right, boy, I'm glad because I was betting my last two fingers. That could have been really, really bad. Okay, all right, so we're going to deploy. There we go. Yeah, bad bet. Yeah, you're right. Rob, you'll give me a couple of yours, right? All right, here we go. So, and we still got, nope, we're going to give it a second because sometimes deploys can take a second. Okay, and we're going to redo our token again. All right. Okay, so we're going to get a new access token, request token, log in. Man, I just lost my fingers. That's not good. You guys aren't holding me to that, right? Okay, so we've got the ID token. We're going to drop this in the body or to the header. So we know our token's updated. Okay, we're gonna save this. Oh, we have data. Sometimes that can take a minute. If I'd have probably refreshed a couple times, that'd have been fine. Sometimes it cashes in. So I won the bet. Rob, you lost the bet. You owe me 2 fingers. What's up? I'll take thumbs. That'd be cool. All right, so let's move on. We've got that working. Now it's still not in data we like. This isn't how our client likes it, right? So they don't want to see all the DynamoDB type stuff. So what do? We add our integration. We change our output. Okay, so we're going to go back to our API gateway here, and we're going to go to our resources. And under the get, remember we're under the app get. On the output here in the integration response, first of all, we're going to make sure we have a 200 set up. We do. Okay, right now we don't need any headers. Remember, we're not doing our cores yet. We're going to do that last. Okay, so then we're going to do our integration response, and under our integration response and our mapping templates, we're going to add, there's an application JSON already set up. We're going to go ahead and add our other template. Okay, so let's jump over here, and that is our get response. And this is a pretty straightforward one. Let's pop it into the editor first, and then we can talk through it. Okay, so in this one here, all it's doing is we're setting a value of input root to all the data coming back in input path, the $of root. And then we're saying for every element in input root, create a JSON object here. And then if there's another one coming, add a comma. If there's not, then end. Okay. Hi, I did ask this same thing yesterday, but I was told that there might be a way Cognito will be able to do the following. Okay, so I'm going to watch for that question here, and I'll watch for that as we're going. So, all righty. Now let's go ahead and save this. Okay, and we're going to deploy that. Actions, deploy. Now, are you starting to see why on HTTP API the auto deploy is very handy when you're developing? So, all right. So now let's go back to our Postman, and we're gonna do a send. We're gonna do it again. Remember, it can take a couple times for that to kick in. There it is, and that is the data that we want. All right. So let's pop back here. So kind of summarize here. We're able to post data. Okay, we're able to get a URL, and now we're getting data that just belongs to us. So all kinds of people could be putting things in here, but our get is making sure that the URL owner, this guy right here, and we're indexing on that, matches the security value passed in through the authorization token. All right, so you see how we're doing that security in here, and I'm able to do multiple clients without having to write a lot of different work on that. So there you go. That's how we limit it to just our stuff. Okay. So let's go back here, back to screen. All righty. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we need to be able to put, so all together in our resources now, we've got the ability to actually have the URL shortener work. And then we have the ability to put new things, and we have the ability to get a whole list of just our stuff. So now we're going to do a put. Okay, so the put allows us to update a value, right? So this is pretty straightforward REST stuff, but there's a couple things we're going to do, and I want to say this because this is how is another way to wrap some security in here. So yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. I had to trim it a little bit, but this is a sweet beard. You're right. Okay, so next thing we're going to do, under the app folder, I'm going to add a new resource, okay? And that resource is going to look very familiar, and I'm going to explain why I do it this way. Okay, you don't have to do it this way. Okay, there's multiple ways of doing it, but it's just a little extra added security. Okay, the resource name is going to be link ID, and they're going to pass parameter link ID. We're not going to worry about cores right now, and we're not going to do a proxy. Okay, so those are the same things that we see. Okay. And I'll be looking at questions here shortly, so I can do that. So in here, I now need a method, and the method I want is I'm going to do a put. Okay, so this allows me to put data, and a put is generally meaning I want to update the data. Okay, so we're going to store that. Our AWS service, we got to build this all out again here. Okay, and it's DynamoDB. Oh, yep. Okay, subdomain, don't worry about it. It's a post. Okay, we're going to use action names, and for this one, we're actually going to do an update item. Okay, And it's the same as we did on the create. And you'll have to go, if you go back and watch that episode, you'll understand why we're doing that. Okay, so there's the update item. Oh, nope, I didn't spell that right. Okay. All right, update item. Okay. So now we're going to do, we need our role again. Now this one is going to be updating. So he needs CRUD access, all right? CRUD being create, read, update, and delete. And we are updating. So we're going to grab the ARN for that one. And the ARN is the Amazon resource number. Okay, so there we go. And that connects that up. All right, so we save that. Now, when we put, now here's the interesting part that I want you to see. So we're gonna create our mapping template. Okay, create that again. You can see that this gets, you do this a lot, so you understand how to do that. Okay, now I want to pull our mapping template and we're going to talk through it real quick. So this is a put under the link ID under app. Okay, so here we go. So this is the put request. All right, now this is a big one. So let's talk through it here. If I can post, there we go. All right, so what does this one do? Well, first of all, first thing we want to do is we've named our table name Shorty. That's good. So what this is going to do is this is going to say to find the item we want to update, grab the ID coming in from the input. That's the actual body that comes in. All right. Then we're going to set. Remember, we want to stay away from reserved names, so we're going to set some values here. So our pound U is going to be URL, that's a parameter name. Pound owner is owner, and pound ID is ID. And then we're going to set values. So :U is grabbing the input.json URL, so that's what we're going to update. The owner is hard coded, so we actually need to grab this from the. I'm surprised I have that hard coded. So we're going to do context. You know what? I will get that wrong every time. So let's just go copy it from somewhere because. You know. All right, get requests. So here we go. Come on. There we go. So we want to grab the email. Okay. Right, and then the link ID is the path paste. Now, the difference here is up here I grab it from the inside the body. Up here I grab it on the path. So they need to be hitting the path. For the right ID. They need to be passing that in there, okay? And then we go down here, and the update expression is the only thing you can update is the URL. We don't let you update the ID because you don't want to change that if it's already out there. We return all the new values, and the expression says the owner equals owner, so that's the owner right here, okay? We're saying it has to equal the one coming in on the authorizer claim, and the ID has to equal link ID, which is the one on the path, okay? So we're doing some different things to make sure everything lines up. This verifies it's the right ID on the path. This verifies it's the right ID in the body. So we've done some double stuff here. Okay, so let me go through and see if I can answer some questions real quick here. And we'll save this. Okay. And what do we got here? Could you build all this using CDK? Absolutely, you can. I'm not a CDK expert, but you can. And if it doesn't have direct constructs, I know you can get into some of the primitives on that, and you can build this out. You can look at what I generally use because this is so API gateway heavy. I used OpenAPI. My SAM template's actually fairly small, except for there's some other stuff I add that we're not going to cover in here. But for the API gateway, it's fairly small. Most of the work is done in an OpenAPI template, and you can see that on the URL. And I'll actually post that URL here right now. And I think Rob may have already posted it as well. All right, so what else here? Check out, okay, yep, we've got some docs here, okay. Okay, experts, 1 sec, okay. CDK does support adding CDK, excellent, nice job, Rob. Okay, looks like we got, how can someone nail the VTL syntax? If Eric can't, I lose all. That is fair. You know what, it's like any other templating, it's a matter of, Eric is old, and Eric's head has, I have 5 kids, I can't remember everything. So, all right, here we go, blog start. Hey, look at that, I have the blog in there, okay. All right, let's get on here. And yes, we see some velocity templating going on here. Now, you want to be careful. You want to also look up which parts, which subsets of VTL. Not every subset of VTL is supported in API gateway. So you want to look at the API gateway links as well. And I have that link here real quick. There you go. All righty. All right. I give a fast look. Are the leading keys an exclusive of? Okay. What are we talking about leading keys? I'll let Rob answer that. We'll jump in and I'll come back around there. So, all right. So we've got our template built in. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we want to look at, do we have an output template? Okay, which we will. Okay. So we're going to do the get request. All right. So we're going to put the response. Now we're only going to do 200s right now. Okay, you can do the same thing when you're building if you need a 400 error as well. Now my code doesn't error. That's just the way it goes. I bet my fingers on it, so it doesn't error. But you want to go in and add your 400s as well. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm saying and you don't have to do this because we're defaulting, but one thing to do is if you want to do your when you're building this, you can use regex to say everything that matches 200. Okay, and I cheated a little bit and looked at the hint there. Okay, so now we're going to add a mapping template. We have our application JSON. Okay, all right. So let's talk about this map real quick. All I'm doing is I'm setting the input route again, and then for each one, I'm going through it and setting the value coming back out. So it's much like when we posted a new one. All right. So let's see if this works. We're going to deploy it right now. Deploy API. Go to prod and deploy. All right. So I added a new one, but I don't want to fall into the same problems again. Let's make sure under resources, under our put, we have an authenticator on. I'm going to have to redeploy. Yeah, I know. Rob's probably mocking me. I'm not even going to look at the chat. Is he mocking me? Someone tell me. Okay. All right. Yes, Amazon Cognito and SAM work very well together. In my sessions with SAM, I talk about HTTP API and I'm sorry, AWS IAM work very well together. I talk about some of it in sessions with SAM, but yes, Amazon Cognito works very well with IAM. All right. So we've got that. Let's go ahead and deploy this. All right. So while that's going out, let's build a new. We're actually going to take our post and we're going to duplicate this tab over here. Okay. And we're going to change this to a put. Okay. And then I'm going to take the body that we sent earlier, which is Pepsi. And let's say, now I can't update the ID. If I try to update the ID, it'll actually create a new one. Okay. So instead, and my client doesn't allow them. And so instead I'm going to do, I don't know, we'll just do join the fun. I don't know. I don't even know if this is a real link on Pepsi, but we'll put it there. Okay, so I wanted to update that. And what's real, again, short links are great for deep links. So let's say I have, a path like that. I don't want to get everybody to remember that. I wanted to go all the way out. So, hey, thanks for the session with Sam link there. All right, so I'm changing the Pepsi URL. I'm going to hit a send. And, yeah, hang on a second here. I wonder if I didn't deploy that with the... So generally this means, let's check our header. Sometimes this means, oh, you set something up wrong. Okay, so we're going to go back here and let's go back to our resource and our put. And I do have that. Okay, let's deploy it one more time. Maybe I didn't get the deploy out with that in there. Okay. All right, so that should be deployed. Now let's just verify a few things on Postman to make sure. So in my header, I've got my token. For authorization, I'm not doing anything here. In fact, we can just turn this off because it's just going to be done through the header. Through the body, I'm sending new data. Now let's see if we've got, and it's a put. There it is. So it's a put. And what did I say I needed? I needed the link ID. So we got to hit Pepsi. So what that was saying is, hey, you're sending an authorization, but there's no endpoint for this. So I'm not sure what to do. There's no put at app nothing, okay? All right, I put it real good. Oh, that sounds good to me in my head all day. So now let's try this. And there you go. There's the updated URL. And if we pop over to DynamoDB, we can go here and do a refresh here and look at Pepsi. And there it is right there. And did you see how fast that was? There's a very, very fast way of doing this. Okay, so with our last, we've got about 30 minutes yet. Now, well, let's build the delete real quick, and that should get us there. And then we're going to talk about some validation. All right, what does an error message look like? Since this is direct DynamoDB integrations, if you leave out URL as a parameter in the request, do you have to just map the HTTP status code? Yeah. You want to spend time taking and mapping those back out from, you know, if I get a 500 back from DynamoDB and mapping those, and you can see here, like in here. I actually do, if I get a 400 back from DynamoDB, I can do a message, you know, I can build that in. And if we've got time, I'll try to pop that in here. Here's a post response. In this, we actually check to see on the conditional error, and this will actually, you know, we still do a 200, but we send back the URL link already exists, or we can do the URL link is missing. So there's a lot of control over what you can do there. All right, so let's build the delete real quick, and then we'll have close to a fully working one here, and then we can throw in some, we need to throw in some cores to make this work. All right, so going back to our API gateway, under our resources, so we've got our get under the app, we've got our get link ID. This is a little hard to read because they kind of do that, but this to link ID, that is the actual URL shortener that the client hits to get back there to get redirected. This is the administration app. Everything under is administration. We've got two right on the root, the get and the post. And then we've got one in the under a link ID that we require a link ID as well. And then I require the link ID for my delete. Now this is where I was saying, you don't have to do this. You can do your get, post, put, and delete all on the app itself, because you're sending, you know, when we're sending that full path in, it's going to check the user, and it's also going to, you know, you have all the data right in the item. I just like to add that little extra security. It's not hurting me. I like it, so I do that. All right, so on the link ID, we're going to add an extra, or we're going to add a resource. Okay, so I'm sorry, a method. Okay, the resource is the name and that creates a path. Method is obviously the method of the REST API you're going to do, and we're going to send in a delete. Okay, so I'm going to do the AWS service. I've seen this before. DynamoDB. Okay, and post. And we're going to actually use the keyword delete, if I can spell it right. Okay, and that will set that up. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab the right role here. Okay, so, and actually the action is delete item. My bad. Okay, and you can look in the SDK. I always look to the AWS SDK, the JavaScript one. It tells me the same. It's the same commands. So, all right. So the role we need, since we are doing some work, we need the CRUD role, because that's the D of CRUD. So we're going to copy this. Okay. And paste. Okay, so there's our role. Alrighty. We're not going to do any, we're default timeout, current handling pass through. There we go. I have a use case where I want to generate multiple S3 pre-signed URLs based on the number of file names in the input. Can I do it in one API call where the API directly connects to? So you can't generate pre-signed URLs directly from API Gateway. You're going to need a Lambda. So at that point, I would go ahead and connect to a Lambda, give it an array of URLs, and then pass them back. Yeah, you need the intermediate Lambda function on that. All right. So now that we've got our delete, let's add our integration template. Okay, and we're gonna add the application JSON. Save that. Okay, let's grab the template, and I'll talk you through that one as well. Okay, so this is our delete request. We're going to post it here. All right, so hang on a minute here. I just posted it into the chat channel. How fun. All right, I'll post it there too. You can have it there. All right. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to kill our, change our table. Okay, that's from my slip link one, but our table name is Shorty. Okay, then we're going to talk through this. Okay, the ID, again, same thing as before. I'm going to grab it from the path this time. Actually, it looks like I reversed it a little bit this time. The conditional expression means the owner has to equal the owner. I've talked about those. So a really simple thing is it grabs, the only payload in fact, you don't even have to send a payload. All you have to do is in the path. Okay, you have to be the owner and you have to pass the link ID. Okay, so no, nice, thanks, Rob. All right, so that's pretty simple, straight ahead. So I'm going to save that. Okay, and then in my response, really it's a pretty straightforward response. We'll go ahead and add it. Okay, so we're going to say for 200 and our mapping templates. I'm not going to worry about the status because it's the default, but you can put those in there. Okay, and let's grab my response. Okay, all right, so that's an error. So yeah, it looks like I only had the 400 response. All right, so this one's going to be, if I have, let's test this first of all to make sure it's working. Okay, so we don't get any response, basically nothing on 200. It's just going to send back an empty template. We can do something if we want to. We can say success. Let me do a JSON. Okay, true. All right, there we go. So there you go. So we'll send that back for if it's successful. So let's real quick test that, and then we'll come back into our 400 to make sure. All right, so link ID, I'm gonna delete AWS. Actually, I've been doing that. Let's we have one in there. Now I got it. Let me look at some of the other ones. All right, so let's get rid of SD. I have one SD, and I don't. I'm passing as a link ID. I don't need the query strings here. Let's see, headers, nothing else. Let's test this. Okay, I got nothing back but my success true. So that's what we can send back. That works just fine. All right. But let's say we do have a problem, okay? So we're gonna add in a response and we're gonna say, yeah, you can have a 400 response as well. This goes back to the question earlier about how do you map these, okay? So now I've got a 400. Now think, if you remember I explained this last time, the method response is kind of the model for what's being returned. You don't set any values there. You just say, hey, here's the responses that are available, okay? In the integration response now, we're gonna add a second one and we're gonna say for anything 400, okay, and again, we do that that regex. Okay, okay, this says anything 400, I want you to map to 400. Okay, we're gonna save that. And let's go ahead and add our mapping template. Okay, and application JSON. Okay, and we'll check this and paste that. Error message, either not permissions or operator or parameter operator is missing. So we'll save that. Okay. So now let's pop back over and let's test this without link ID. Okay. Theoretically, we should get that back. One more. Yeah. See, it's even kicking that out. Hang on, 400. Let me check real quick here. Alrighty. So we're getting a 200 back from the service. We'll come back to this. Okay, of course I want to read this. So this is really helpful when you're looking at successfully completed the operation, method response, and you can see in here, okay, endpoint request body after transformation. Okay, nothing came through, and you could see the endpoint URI, endpoint request headers, author, everything's passed through. Here's what came back, and receive response. There's the 400. So I wonder if I put the wrong one. All right. Okay, put your service for, yeah, nice, thanks. All right, let me go back to that real quick. Method response, 400 is available, okay. And let me go here, integration response. Okay, so we're gonna say on this one, this shouldn't be an issue, but okay. So we're gonna go to D. Okay, all right, so we're gonna save that. Everything should be good. I'm gonna have to come back to you on this one. I'm not sure what's going on, but we're gonna try to test it one more time. Okay, so we'll test this value. So let's just put a value that doesn't exist in there. See what we get. Okay. One more parameter value for valid entry. Okay. Oh. Yeah, I know what's going on. Okay, so what's going on is it's blowing up before it even gets to my integration. It's looking for the owner, okay? And I'm not passing in an owner. So if we wanted to test this, I can either go into that and hard code it, or we could deploy it and see what happens. So let's go ahead and deploy API, but it'll work because mine, here, let's do it that way. Let's hard code it for a moment, okay? So we're gonna say integration request. Okay, we're gonna go in here and we're gonna say, Eric Johnson, Eric DJ at Amazon.com. .com. So I hope you follow what I was saying. Before it even gets to that error out, it's blowing up on us before it even gets to the integration. It's saying, hey, you don't have the right data coming in. So if we test this now, we should get with nothing here. Okay, one of our an attribute may not contain an empty string. Okay, so it's trying to pass through an empty string. All right, let's do it this way. Here we go. Okay, so the conditional request failed. That's the message that Dynamo is sending back to us. Alrighty, and we're getting a 400. Why is my 400 not getting caught? So I'm going to actually just be honest with you and call foul on this and figure out why that's not happening. Header mappings, content mapping template. I'm going to check my mapping template to make sure I'm not doing anything funky. I'm not. Oh, yeah. Hang on a second. Let's try one more thing. Okay, notice I had no mapping template in there. Okay, I probably didn't save it earlier. When there's no mapping template, it just passes back the error from the system behind it, okay? So let's go back now. This doesn't work, we'll move on, but I like things clean and nice. There you go. Either you do not have permission to do this operation or a parameter is missing. So let's clear out of this. Okay, there you go. That's how you map it. My bad. My template was empty. That's what was blowing up. So if you put a template but it's empty, then it's just going to throw back the errors from Cognito, and you're not, or from DynamoDB, and you're not intercepting that error and doing something with it. In this case, we are intercepting the error. We're mapping it over and saying, this is what I want you to do. All right, any questions on that before we jump on? Hopefully that made sense. All right, so we have a delete working. We can deploy this so everything's out there. Now what we're going to do is we are going to look at, and I talked about we would look at security and optimization. I don't know how far we're going to get. We got 15 minutes yet, but we're going to look at data validation, a way to do security, because we don't have a Lambda to do this data validation, do we? So we need to create a template that we can run that data validation against, okay? So let's start building in some of those. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at, let's go back to our Postman real quick here, just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So on our post, okay, we're going to do some new data. Let me go back to body up here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do Pepsi, but for the URL, we're just going to do like this. We're just going to do something like this, okay? It's just too calm, all right? Now, if I send that, got an internal server error. Hang on a minute here. That's not good. Let's go. Okay, URL. That should work fine, unless I have it already on. So my app, post app. So we can check the internal server error. Actually, let's just go back to, I think it'd be easier to go back to the database, and we'll do this. Let's throw this in. And I'll show you. So it's blowing up on the data format, right? So we're going to throw in a model. So now you notice I've got two empty ones here. They get created on the fly on some different places, like empty schema, or they get thrown in there where API Gateway kind of thinks it needs it, all right? So we're going to create a new one that I have control of. We're going to call this the post body, okay? And this is going to be application JSON. Okay, I didn't spell application right. Alrighty. Okay, and validate in post body. Okay. All right. So now what we're gonna do. Let me grab a schema here real quick from my models over here. Post body. Okay. So in here, I'm gonna say, we're going to require ID and URL, okay? The type is an object, so it should be coming as a JSON object. The properties, ID should be a string. URL should be a pattern that matches this regex. Now, don't take this regex and throw it in production. I am not a regex expert. Regex, it kicks my tail end every time. Anybody, I'd love to see in the chat, anybody else or anybody think they're a regex expert? Because I am not. So watch it on the chat here. Nothing going. All right, good. Yeah, nobody. Regex is like cores. We need it, but nobody loves it like crazy. So all right. So let me go back to my screen here. Okay, so by putting this in, I'm going to create this model. And then I'm going to go back to my resources, and on my post, I can go up here, and now you'll see under the method request, name every, exactly. Under the request body, I'm going to add a model. Okay, so I'm going to say application JSON should route through the post body validation. Okay, yeah, there you go. All right, so now that's not enough. I also need to turn on the request validator. And I can say validate body query string parameters and headers, or validate query string parameters and headers. Right now, I just want to do body. Okay, so I'm going to hit there. So now it's going to say, according to this body, to that structure, it has to validate. Okay, we're going to deploy this. Okay, and hopefully I show a working example. Okay, funny enough, I've actually never done that through the console until today. I always do it in my code. So that was kind of interesting to see, to set that. I mean, I've checked to make sure it's in the console, but all right, so let's go over here to Postman. Now, we're going to send data with just ID. Let's see what happens. Okay, I get an invalid request body. Okay, so it tells me immediately, hey, you're missing something. So let's add URL back in. Okay, now I can make, we can, or that message comes back and then my client can read that and go, okay, it can do some validation against that. So let's pass an empty string for URL. Okay, that's still invalid. Let's pass just some random data. Still invalid. Okay. So now what we're going to do, let's change this to one that we didn't have. Let's go to, let's do Rob's. We'll go Rob Sutter, okay? Now I'm always a shortener to a shortener, right? So I'm going to do Rob. I actually require HTTP. Rob, so was it Rob Sutter TV? Post it. Where is it? Come on, Rob. Oh yeah, there are. Oh yeah, I was, so RB. STTR, are you sure? Are you sure? Okay, so now I'm going to post this, and let's see if it works. And it does. Okay, so that gives you the ability to validate at API Gateway, adding the security, because when we lose the ability to use a Lambda for our logic, we need to add that security in. We need to be able to validate our data. So, and I can get pretty crazy with those structures. So let's go back to that real quick. I'm not going to change anything, but just kind of show you. We can go in and say, okay, for everything getting put in, I have some regex. I can say, again, I can patterns. Here's the type, and what's required, what's not required. So I have a lot of flexibility on that. Okay. At this point, what I want to do is I want to stop for a moment, and Rob, actually, his session's starting. Rob, post the name of your session coming up. His session is starting in about 8 minutes. Okay, so I want to take a few minutes to answer some questions if we have any. I'm going to go back through this real quick to see. And we've built, so in a sense, actually, you know what? Just so you can see it, we're going to do our cores real quick, okay? And we'll probably continue on this next time, but I did promise that we would show cores and some security. So we're going to do it kind of quick, but so you can see it. We've built this all out, okay? And Postman works fine, but let's say we start using a client, we need to have cores set up. The reason I waited till the end is because API Gateway will do some things to evaluate what cores you need, okay? This is a REST API, okay? Now, the two we have three. We have WebSockets, we have HTTP API, and we have REST API. And the one I'm using is REST API because HTTP does not support direct integration with services at the moment. So hopefully that protobuf, that answers your question. All right, so now I'm gonna say enable cores. Actually, I need to get on the right resource here, okay? Here. Okay, so I'm going to enable cores here. Now, the cores are done on a resource base, okay? So here, the reason it's not grayed out is because I have no methods on the root, okay? I have to have a link ID to get passed in. All right, so I'm going to enable cores here, and it's going to ask me some questions, okay? Gateway for Shorty API, default forks, default 5. Okay, so it's blinking. Okay, the methods that are allowed. Okay, these are the responses that are allowed. The methods that are allowed are options, which has to be there, and get. Access control allow methods on this. All you're going to be able to do is get and options, and then the content type, the allowed headers, and then here I would do don't do star on this. Okay, use your domain. Okay, so like I can do slip.link. Okay, so I can say if you're coming from slip.link, that will work fine. So now I'm going to enable cores and replace existing cores headers. Okay, so watch what happens. Okay, don't worry about these getting in here. Access control allow origin method was, it may not have liked invalid response status code specified. So it may not have liked my code. That's okay. What I wanted this to do is to build out this. Okay, what API does, this builds a mock integration. Okay, I'll show how to enable logs in just a second. This builds a mock integration that builds in the integration request, and you can see it's called a mock, and through a mapping template, it handles all the responses that you need, which is just pretty much just a 200, but more importantly are the headers that are sent back, which are all here. Okay, that, like I said, is the map, and then in the integration response, the values are mapped as well here. Okay, and that's how it's set up. And notice my allow origin did set up. All right, real quick, this last question. To enable logs for an app like this, I'm going to go to stages. I'm going to go to the particular stage I want to enable it on. I'm going to go to logs and tracing. I can enable CloudWatch logs. What's the level I want? Okay, I can enable detailed CloudWatch metrics, etc. metrics, and then I can enable access logging. And this is the logging that a lot of people want to see. How did my site work? And if you watch Sessions with Sam, I actually show how to pipe to add a fire hose ARN here and how to do data analytics with that. So you put the ARN in here, you add your log format, and off you go. And with that, I'm going to call it. How helpful is using X-Ray with your API gateway debugging? Extremely helpful, Doug. Extremely helpful. You're able to see where it's mapping, what kind of speed you're getting or latency. So yeah, I automatically turn X-Ray on everything. Okay, especially when we're building serverless applications. All right, I am going to cut so Rob can get ready for his. It's coming up here in 4 minutes. I appreciate it. And we're going to continue next week, and we're going to add some more security measures and observability, and as well as optimization. Happy little APIs. Stay happy, stay healthy, wash them. See you later.